Hi, and welcome to today's National FEI Canada webinar titled DX and Finance. Are you ready for the next normal? My name is Georgina Blanes, and I'm your Executive Director at FEI Canada. We're pleased to have you with us today, and we're delighted this afternoon to have partnered once again with Ricoh to bring what we believe to be an extremely timely and informative webinar. With the continued postponement of in-person events across the majority of our chapters due to the coronavirus pandemic, we're continuing to bring a variety of first-rate online thought leadership so you can remain on the leading edge of what finance executives need to know to successfully navigate through these challenging times. Please keep an eye on your email and FEI Canada events calendar, as well as all the webinars that are continually being added throughout the coming weeks and months. At FEI Canada, we're also very delighted to have launched the registration for the 2021 DNA FEI Canada Conference in Quebec, streaming live from June 1st to June 3rd. Now, I know you're not going to want to miss out on the early bird rate, so please register now. We encourage you to do this sooner rather than later, because I know I wouldn't want to miss out. Now, to register for all speaker session and other conference information, I want you to keep your eyes peeled on www.feicanadaconference.ca. That's www.feicanadaconference.ca. For our listeners, before we begin, I really want you to draw your attention to the chat box. The chat box feature is on the top right corner of your screen. I encourage everyone to submit a question during the presentation, and we're going to do our best to address as many questions as possible that we can attend to. And if there's questions afterwards, our delighted guests and speakers and partners here from Ricoh will be happy to get back to you as well. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's speakers. Ryan Beckwith is National Manager Pre-Sales Engineering at Ricoh Canada. Ryan is an accomplished executive with over 15 years at Ricoh. Ryan's consulting with global clients to identify and remediate insufficient business processes. Ryan has led the Ricoh team from discovery and solution development through implementation for some of Ricoh's largest business processes and automation engagements. Ryan also contributes to Ricoh's own digital transformation strategy and shares his expertise in expanding Ricoh's BPA offering to continuing delivering exceptional value to our clients and organizations, and many who are members here at FEI. Additionally, please welcome Duke Eustaquio, who's our National Manager in Consulting Services at Ricoh Canada. Ricoh's clients trust Duke and his team to help establish a framework for their digital transformation. With Duke's 25+ years of experience in process analysis and improvements, system development, information management, and enterprise solution implementation, as you can appreciate, Duke helps play the foundation for information governance, leading to the development of records information and management program. Now, I'd like to pass it on to Ryan to begin the conversation. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you so much, Duke. Over to you, Ryan.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Just waiting for the slide to change. There we go. So, in an ever-changing world, organizations need to adapt. They need to stay relevant and ahead of the curve. Now more than ever, the key to a successful evolution and innovation is digital transformation, which we will refer to as DX throughout today's presentation. We believe a sound digital strategy will enable you to accomplish the larger scale goals of optimizing and growing your business in today's digital world. Today, I'd like to share some learnings from my experience supporting our clients through their digitization journey. We will use data-driven intelligence to provide you with a high-level overview you can use to help map your digital maturity and navigate your own DX journey to the next normal. We will cover setting the pace, budget, and priorities, how to build a successful DX roadmap, overcoming barriers to successful execution, and a digital strategy, DX measurement, and management. To kick things off, let's look at some research that we conducted with our partnership with FEI. In a recent survey, we asked Canadian business leaders, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 was not started and 10 is advanced, where do you rank your organization's current state of digital transformation? 15% put themselves between 1 and 3, 37% at 5 or less, and 52% place their organization at 6, 7, or 8. So as I go through the presentation today, I'd like you to think about where you're at. What score would you give yourself? So let's start with defining DX. Unfortunately, this is next to impossible. It means something different to everyone. It's a buzzword. Every company is in a different position. One common thing we see across the board in talking to our clients is that typically the focus seems to be on customer-facing aspects, meaning they want to digitize that customer engagement first. That's the first thing they think of. That's the first thing, that's how they want to interact with their clients. The challenge is they often forget about the back office. Our perspective on this is that back office processes need to be optimized in order to drive a strong digital customer engagement. Without that, all the efficiencies gained in the front end of the process really can be lost. The process needs to seamlessly flow from a digital interaction at the beginning with the client and right through the back office processes. We also like to often talk about starting small. Start small, build upon the success, and continue to advance the solution. A lot of customers, when they map this out, they spend the time figuring out what they're going to do to automate their process. Sometimes it takes too long to get off the ground and you lose focus. So starting small is huge, and celebrating the little wins and building on that to continue to elevate the solution. How and where we work and collaborate and share information has changed. This pandemic has been a driving factor of innumerable digital projects. Most organizations have to deploy to get things working, just to keep the lights on and figure out how work gets done when the workforce is at home. So kudos to IT for making that happen. But in speed and haste, there were things sacrificed. Governance and security is just one of those things. This was done so we could all continue to keep working. It's clear from our industry findings that companies of all sectors have had to go through a similar pathway in order to survive and adapt what is proving to be a catastrophic business disruption event. The first step was safety, both health of the business team and then short-term financial safety and operational capabilities. Second came an acknowledgement that the coronavirus pandemic is going to cause lasting changes in the economy. Almost all industries, all customers' behaviors, top of that. From their business, we were able to focus on immediate survival through cash, retention, and maintaining staff at a level as close to pre-pandemic conditions as possible. After this came an adoption phase, adjusting to the new normal through modified mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets that are suitable for the new environment and challenges that the coronavirus has caused. Finally, businesses have reached or should have strived to reach a stage of sustainability. This is reached through transformation of portfolios, processes, platforms, and people, all with a view to positioning the business for future success. Each step of this path cycles through the stages of react, lessons learned, make decisions, assess impacts, and identifying and addressing gaps. Some of you may experience the following. So I'm sure we all dealt with some issues with VPN or connecting into the office network, sheer volume of emails and people working from home through these different email servers. How do we now collaborate with our teams? Do we have Teams installed? Are we using Zoom? Are we using Skype? Legacy IT systems, do they support the cloud? Do they support all these people logging in from home? Home-based printers. So these are just some of the issues that IT had to deal with to get us back to work and get us back to working in the new normal. So I'm sure all of us had to deal with these exact same issues. So we're going to stop now. We're going to do a quick live poll. So that is that kicking off? There we are. So we'll just give everyone a couple seconds. All right. The results are just coming in. So I see collaboration software seems to be the biggest one, next to digital signatures, AP and AR processes, then e-commerce, and then other. Well, that's great. Perfect. We'll move on. So let's look at some more results from our research with FEI. Here we asked respondents, how has the past year impacted their digital transformation overall? About half of our respondents indicated their DX journey hit the fast forward button. We purposely left this as an eye-opening question to get a pulse on how wide or narrow different people perceive digital transformation. So what's interesting here is a few things. 11% said it slowed their DX journey down. How is this possible? Makes you wonder what people consider DX to be. Does kitting out remote workers not count? Some will think yes, others will say no. Does implementing a digital signature workflow for contract approvals count? I'd say yes, absolutely. Others may not think so. They may only perceive DX as an entire end-to-end process automation. What I found particularly interesting on this one is that 22% said that the pandemic has identified DX needs in their organization. The question now becomes when. Let's look at the speed of transformation. One thing is certain, the pandemic has expedited a comfort level with digitalization. Look at these figures around technology and mass adoption. 60 years, 26 years, 80 years, and then the past year where we all got our teams up and running at home in a matter of a few weeks. Not only did all of us get it done, but it became the norm, the expected, and for many, the expectation. According to a recent survey of Fortune 500 companies, 80% of employees want to work from home at least some of the time, even after we get back to the new normal and back into the office at whatever capacity that looks like. Data protection challenges have undermining organizations' ability to execute digital transformation. There's no doubt about that. According to a recent survey by Veeam Data Protection, which found that 58% of backups fail, leaving data unprotected. Lack of devices, culture training, all lead to barriers of successful execution of a digital strategy. So let's look at some more research that we conducted with FEI regarding digital transformation, where it ranks in your organization's list of concerns. 78% chose 5 or more on a scale of 1 to 10. 56% chose 8, 9, or 10. So it's clear that the majority of people viewed digital transformation as a high priority element of their business. So if the results to our early survey question were more than 53% of business leaders ranked their organization at a 6 or lower in terms of their overall state of digital transformation, it's clear there's plenty of opportunity to tackle within the average organization. Let's move into the next section, how to build a successful DX strategy. From here, I'm going to pass things over to my colleague Duke, as this is his specialty, and he spends the majority of his time helping clients achieve their digital transformation goals. Over to you, Duke.
Thank you, Ryan. One of the major shifts we have seen over the past 12 months is an increased digital divide between those who had a digital transformation plan and those who were less prepared, with the former accelerating their ability to execute and the latter slowing down. Step 1 to digitally transforming is being digitally resilient. Now, history has taught us that those who have effectively leveraged technology to transform the way they do business have stayed relevant and ahead of their competition. And since digital transformation affects business units corporate-wide, we need to get the right people involved in building our digital transformation roadmap. Now, corporate information, business processes, and systems are then inventoried, so the lay of the land can be understood and improvement initiatives can be prioritized as projects are aligned with objectives. Now, since the transformation of activities will require the use of resources and technology, funding is needed. The business case for funding your projects may be developed by calculating the actual and potential costs of inaction or by the savings and efficiencies realized by the transformation itself. We do this through process simulations. We also have to keep in mind that the level of complexity and pace of digital transformation activities at the various business units are not equal. It is therefore crucial that we get buy-in from the affected lines of business, which leads to adoption, and communication is key. When developing our digital transformation projects, we want the projects to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So this is your SMART acronym. And since we have our KPIs, we can periodically benchmark the improvements that we have made. However, what we've seen out there was that unless this benchmarking is tied to regulatory and/or legislative compliance, this last part is often not forgotten. Next slide, please. Our next slide is again one of our survey results. This graphic is from a recent research with FEI. It captures the most common desired business outcomes as to why organizations choose DX initiatives that they do. Now, these are after the 2 main initiatives we saw last year, which is getting people connected to our work from home and getting contracts signed without wet ink. Now you'll notice here that the simplified business process comes out ahead, right? And it's understandable because if you simplify business processes, the rest pretty much falls in line. Like you'll improve your customer experience, you'll have continuous improvement, you'll have business continuity, and by doing that as well, you're going to reduce costs and optimize internal resources as well. Okay, let's move on to budget. We have a poll question here. Who owns your digital transformation budget? Is it IT? Since digital transformation typically involves a lot of technology. Is it finance? Who holds the money, basically? Or is it the line of businesses coming from their department budgets or operations? Let's give a few more seconds for the results to come in. Okay, we have our results. 39% is from IT. And that's understandable because technology drives our transformation. Nice. Okay. Move on to the next one. Now, this one is an important piece, information governance. Now, information can generally be grouped into two buckets. Structured information, this is information in our ERP systems, our financial systems, our HR systems, inventory, CRM, supply chain systems. And the other one is unstructured information. So this information these are the information or the source documents that were used to enter the information into your, to make it structured into your bigger systems, right? The paper documents or your electronic files. This could be information in social media or email. So any information that's not really managed by one big system, right? So unstructured information. And a big part of information governance is records management. One may even say that the practical application of information governance is the development of a records information management program. Now, this is a broad statement. Now, unless your business is the collection and unless your business is the collection and storage of information is generally collected as a transaction of business. How this record of business is managed is defined by the records information management program. An example would be your, how long you keep the record, your retention period. I was discussing with a customer of mine about managing email. And he mentioned that they were informed by their IT department that their emails will be deleted after 18 months. So I asked where that rule came from. And he said he didn't know. Now, from a records management perspective, there is a potential risk here. First is the proper disposition of records. There is an approval process for deleting records, when you're looking at records management, right? One does not just delete the records without a sign off from the owner of the record. And second is the 18 months the correct retention period. Now, one may ask, what is the big deal, right? With just, managing the emails and just deleting with 18 months, right? It's really all about protecting ourselves during litigation. At the end of the day, that's what it is, right? An example is that if a court ordered us to produce our records and we cannot because we disposed of them, we may be ordered to present our guidelines, procedure, processes for disposition, and the proof of compliance to those processes, right? And if we can't, then that puts us at risk. So this illustrates the need to look at the bigger picture of information governance when we're developing our digital transformation strategy. Because there may be rules, legislation, regulation, and standards that we may need to comply with, right? We also have to keep in mind, we also want to be able to mine, actually, we also want to be able to mine our information. Keep in mind that we have that information and use analytics to our advantage and automate where we can. Move towards having solution technologies manage processes as opposed to having the knowledge anchored on individuals. So we often have that problem wherein we have staff that's retiring who have been with the company for the last 25, 30 years, and all the information regarding the processes that the person is involved with is in his head. And we scramble when we realize that, oh, that person is resigning this year and nobody else knows the process but that person, right? So we need to take that knowledge out of his head and have solution technology manage the process rather than keeping it in people's minds. Okay, so the next slide, please, is another poll question. Has your organization engaged in an information governance or electronic records information management program? So this one is where we're thinking about, have you had the activities of looking at it from a holistic point of view? And something that we may want to start considering, right? The results are 43% said yes, yes, yes. That's great, right? Because consider the implications, right? We have e-signatures. Yeah, work from home is now the new normal, right? We have paper-based processes, time and consuming. You have time and costs in transmitting paper. You spend a lot of time in finding files, electronic files and paper files. We have file security. Right? We have staff-centric business processes. So this is what I meant about the knowledge of the process stuck with the person, right? We have storage costs to keep paper files, and lots more to consider, right, for the digital transformation. Nice. Next slide, please. So the good news is that there is a path forward. So and there are these 4 building blocks, right? We start by having a visioning and planning workshop to set the course for projects. So this is, again, approaching it on a holistic view, right? And you want to do that because you don't really want your digital transformation activities done in silos. So begin with a visioning and planning workshop. And the big picture, use governance as the foundation. So everyone's affected by this. So we need to be able to do that, right? Third is the use analytics to align your work with your goals. You have the data. Make use of it, right? Then experiment and use simulation to test processes. This will provide insight and information to what can be done. And this is also what Ryan mentioned earlier when we discuss with our customers. We want to start small, right, and grow it from there. Now, in these 4 pillars, this is where Ricoh can help. Right? While you may know us for our printers, we actually specialize in empowering. Digital workplaces, and have a robust consulting practice. We currently serve 350 of the Fortune 500 companies, empowering them by digitizing and automating common work processes. So this is where we can help you. We can walk with you in your digital transformation journey. Next slide, please. Another survey results that we have here. Where do you plan to invest internally over the next year? And this one reflects actually what you've answered in the last poll. So IT security came out number one. But if you look at the top six, right? The top six are really related to the new world of work that we're facing. So IT security, cloud migration, IT infrastructure, software as a service. So they're all connected to the new world of work, which is interesting. Now let's wrap things up with another live poll in our next slide here. What does your post-COVID work model look like? Is it continuing to work exclusively from home or return to work as pre-COVID? Or are you looking at the hybrid model now, split between time between home and office? This is interesting because I've been trying to, monitor this trends in Canada and around the world, and I want to find out how it's going. Hybrid model, yes, and this is what I've been seeing as well. Right? Ryan has mentioned that the recent survey of Fortune 500 companies found that 80% of employees want to work from home at least for some time, right? Given how fast Canadian organizations were able to stand up, work from home, and given that people adapted and adopted so quickly, I think the hybrid model is here to stay. Now, other data and research has shown that productivity has never been higher this year. And given the increase in mental health challenges, I think a very comfortable and sustainable model is in the works where people will retain the flexibility and comfort from working from home, balanced with the human and company culture aspects of in-office interaction and collaboration. So I think there's going to be that balance, right, in the new world of work. So Ryan, back to you.
I couldn't agree more, Duke. Yeah, so this is our Changemakers landing page as well. So this will be in the link for everyone to click and find out further information on how Ricoh can help with your digitization journey. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today and taking the time to go through it with us. And now we've left some time for some questions. So are there any questions?
Hi there, Ryan. Hi there, Duke. There's some questions that have come in and just wanted to chat with you a little bit more about them. From your polls with our members, you brought up some very interesting information about simplifying business processes, but also keeping an improved customer experience, which is critical.
Yes.
And of course, the other piece that comes to mind is also ensuring that business continues. Could you share some feedback or some insights that you gathered?
Yeah, for sure. So process simplification seems to be another one of those big buzzwords now that we hear when we're talking to our clients. So that seems to be top of mind, which is fantastic. I would say a lot of examples actually. So let's think about the banking sector for a second, right? So in the banking sector, we're all used to kind of working with our online banking apps and taking pictures of checks now, and really we pretty much never go into the branch anymore, right? And the banks have done an absolutely fantastic job with basically putting out a digital platform for us to interact with them, to continue to do business with them. Where they struggle though is on the back end. They struggle with a lot of those back end manual processes that have to take place after those digital experiences have happened with the clients. And that results in them maybe not opening up an account as quickly as possible, or verifying certain paperwork as quickly as possible, or approving a loan as quickly as possible. So that's kind of a perfect example of what I was talking about, of how we're automating kind of that front end, that digital experience, and then the back end of it's kind of an afterthought. So yeah, that would be kind of a perfect example of kind of exactly that.
Perfect. And of course, one thing that comes up, consistency with back office and compliance, is governance, and how we can ensure proper governance, especially for our records and information keeping. That's a critical piece that we have. Could you provide a few more insights and what our members have been telling you and some of your clients that you can share with our guests today?
Absolutely. So I'm going to pass that one over to Duke, as he would probably have a better answer than I would on that.
Hi,
Yes.
Duke. Thank you.
Hello. Yes. Hi. Hi, everyone. Yes. Governance. Yeah, governance is important. But often it's left. It's important, but often it's left to the wayside, because there are pressing pain areas in when we talk to customers. The first thing that they'll come back to us is that, oh, I have a problem here, I have a problem there. So they're very focused on the specific pain areas, right? And what we'd like to do is we like to bring them back and take a step back and say, okay, let's look at this also. We'll have to make sure that when we address your issues, we have to look at it from a holistic point of view. And one of the things that we want to make sure of is that we get executive sponsorship, right? We get executive support. And from there we start with, okay, when we look at, especially when we're dealing with records, it's the whole records management program, because we're not just looking at the records of specific departments, it's the records of the whole organization, right? So when we look at governance, we're looking at it from a records management perspective. And one of the things that we highlight is that you need someone actually in charge of this, right? Because more often than not, they leave the records management on the department level, and they make it as an ad hoc or in addition to the additional workload that everybody has, right? And when you do it that way, it slows everything down, or it may not even get off the ground, right? Because it's in addition to your work. So we advise our customers to, you need to take a step back, look at it from a holistic point of view, put somebody in charge, put somebody responsible for that, so that that person can actually, or that group, or we even call it that records management office, continuously moves the program forward, right? And it's a whole program. You have to get training involved there. Training from new hires all the way to continuous training, so that the program itself evolves, right? Evolves with the organization. And then at the back end is the auditing. You have to be able to audit yourself, so you can look at it and say, yep, we need to change, we need to improve. So it's this whole program of moving your whole records management program forward.
You've provided a lot of insight, and so when one is looking to engage you, to engage with Ricoh, can they look for consulting services to engage Ricoh without buying something? If you could provide a little bit more information on how that might work, because there's a lot of different elements. So
Yes.
Can someone engage in consulting?
Absolutely. We've actually engaged customers from the very beginning. So even doing an assessment of the maturity model, right? So we look at the maturity model. So when you look at records management, there is a maturity model of records management. So where do you fall into that maturity model? And we benchmark, right? So we benchmark on standards. So when you're developing your records management program, we have a guide on, okay, we look at your current state, if you have one, and we benchmark it with best practices. And then we look at the gaps, and then we want to see, we look at the gaps, and we develop programs so that we have a way forward to reaching that best practice standard. Right? So definitely, yes, we can do that.
Yeah. Do you find that best practices during the pandemic have accelerated? From the services that you provide, what do you feel has generated the most interest? What's accelerated the most that's come forward? Duke, Ryan, what are your thoughts that you've received based on interest? So we've had quite a few months now, right? We're almost, I think we've passed the year mark. So there's a lot of data that we've gathered. So I know our members and guests would like to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'd say, so I'm going to think about that or answer it in basically talking about kind of the top 3 services that we've had interest in, right? So number 1 is going to be no surprise, and that's digital mail. So people need access to their mail, right? So we do have a solution that is an intelligent delivery solution that allows people to basically receive mail, companies to receive all their mail off-site, and then open it, scan it, and deliver it in a secure method to their employees. So that obviously has been number 1 in terms of interest in our services. Number 2, it would probably be our payment processing solution that allows customers not to receive physical checks on site anymore. So we basically have a lockbox service that offers some additional value to our clients that has really helped clients keep their employees safe. We've had numerous companies speed up their implementation of the solution, and that has allowed them to allow an entire department not to come into the office to open and sort checks and process them and scan them and take them to the bank. It has probably saved lives. It's kept people out of the office. It kept them home and safe. So that's been a big one for us as well. And then we also have had a lot of interest in our digitization road mapping services, which really are consulting services, which help our clients understand kind of where they're at in their digitization journey, what their priorities are, and really take the approach of understanding what needs to be transformed, and then helping our clients make the right decision in terms of what's the priority, what needs to get fixed first, what will deliver the largest impact to the business. And the priorities there are changing every day. Normally it has a lot to do with money, but now it has a lot to do with just keeping the lights on and how do I maintain this process with everybody working from home, right? So that's been an interesting service to be delivering during the pandemic as well.
Yeah, definitely mapping out the process would be quite critical in doing that. And is there anything more you wanted to add about the mapping area? It's pretty interesting and quite critical to planning. Do you feel that's really accelerated over the last little while?
Oh, for sure. So there's 2 parts to that, right? So one is creating like a digitization roadmap, meaning we're basically ranking the different processes and why you would automate them. And then the second piece of that is kind of actually mapping out the process. And that's something Duke's team does very well. And he actually talked about it several times in the presentation today. And we have some pretty sophisticated tools to do that. So not only can we map out current state, we have the ability to basically design what future state could look like. And we have tools that can actually run a simulation on what the impact would be of implementing kind of the desired future state. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Duke, but yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah. What's interesting is that although you can map the process itself, the simulation actually adds a little bit more insight into what the costs are, right? The cost of inaction, and these are information. Actually, what we do is that we just really plug in the costs from our customers. So it's their information that we put into the simulation tool, And then we run the simulation. So we say, okay, so if you run the process for about 30 days, this is what it's costing you, right? And it'll show where the bottlenecks are within the whole process, right? So yeah, it adds a little additional insight to that as well. And also, I like to add also because of the COVID, it's also access to information, right? So we have customers just coming to us and saying, we need access to our information, but not only access, we need help in organizing the information itself. So going back all the way down to, I can't find stuff. I want to find stuff and I can't find stuff. And this is not only because the information is for example, in their paper format, right? It's information that they have on their shared drives, on their hard drives, and they simply can't find the information in there. And again, it goes back to, because all of these information, the way it's organized, it's done individually. We all have our own preference on how we manage and how we organize our information, right? And that's a challenge when you're trying to access information, from different departments and different business units. So we've have actually our customers have come to us and asked for help in that respect as well.
I think the only other piece sorry, quickly just add to that too, Duke, as well, is controlling the access, right? That's also a big thing for our clients, especially with clients that have numerous departments, maybe a large number of employees. It's not as easy as just setting up OneDrive and turning it on, right? There's a lot that goes into it, and we have the ability to help consult on that too, in terms of who needs access, what type of security needs to be in place. All of those good things are things we can help with.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I think the one thing as well with what you've noted is you basically can come in at any point, because some may already have some other products or some kind of system. So it's working with customers also, how would that work if I already have something set up? So if you can talk about that a little bit, because sometimes we may feel uncomfortable and say, hey, we've started this process already, and I don't necessarily use Ricoh's products right now. So how do we integrate it? How do we put it together? If you could talk a little bit more about that, because that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, yeah, because we have customers who actually ask us the exact question, right? Their concern is, we have all these systems and we're all using it. So, but our issue right now is, where do we begin? everything is here, right? So especially when it comes to records management, because the records management piece is you have records in your ERP systems, right? So they're saying, will the information be managed by, let's say, our financial system? So we have, for example, in the AP process, you have all these invoices coming in. So fine, we have all these invoices, we process them. So what do we do with them after? Do we actually keep them in the financial system, or do we keep it somewhere else, right? So even trying to decide where the information will eventually be stored and which system will manage it, that's a big concern. And we've actually have walked through the customer through that whole process, and not only going through the I mentioned earlier about doing an inventory of your corporate information, right? Doing inventory of your processes that generate all of this information. So we walk with the customer, we go through that whole process of inventorying that and being able to see that in front of us. And then from there, we prioritize, we help them prioritize and identify if the information of, the various information, if they need to be housed somewhere else, or if they need to be in your existing systems, or do we need something else to store it so that you can easily find it and search it, right, and retrieve it. So yes, we go through that process, and that's typically that's part of the information governance piece that we go through, because and I mentioned about looking at it from a holistic point of view.
Yes.
Yeah, so we definitely go through that process with our customers.
I think one other just quick point to add there too is a lot of our solutions are designed around integrating with our customers' current environment. So if you look at a solution like our digital mail solution, or our e-signature solutions. We try to leverage those tools to be able to help maintain existing customer systems, and we kind of do some of that automation work outside of those systems and then push files into those systems that are ready to be used and ready to be consumed by those different existing systems, right? So that's definitely something that we have top of mind, because there's nothing worse than implementing something in like maybe 3 years prior and then having to tear that out and put something else in, right? There's nothing worse than that. So we try our best to leave our customers' environments kind of the way they are with the systems they're using, if possible, and then kind of layer our technology and our automation on top of that.
So you bring a very good point with a bit of a hybrid model that's going to be moving forward that we saw from the survey and the results of in-office, working from home. How has that come forward? Because one of the biggest things that's come forward as well from our results is IT and security. Can you talk a little bit more about that and provide some background on how that's been working as well? Because that's been a significant piece.
Yeah, like that's something we're all getting used to. And I think the challenge there is there's varying opinions, right? There's different models. There's lots of companies that are saying they're going to try and get back to 100%. There's some that are saying they're going to get back to 50. And there's some that are saying they're going to try and not have more than 20% in their offices, right? So the problem is it's all over the map, right? And I don't think we really know what that looks like yet. I think we're all kind of on that journey together to see what the best balance is there. So yeah, I guess at this point, I don't know if Duke, if you have more to add to that, but I think that's all something we're still figuring out, right? And all of our clients seem to be on various ends of the spectrum. So I'm not really seeing a clear trend other than it's definitely going to change. And I'd say most people are in the 50% range. In terms of wanting to get back to kind of capacity of what 50% of the office used to look like on a rotating schedule. But I think that's pretty much the most information we have at this point. Do you have anything to add to that, Duke?
Right, and yeah, that's true. And then also the whole cloud situation, right? So it's affecting the landscape right now. So because our customers are also thinking about, okay, so investing in IT, do we invest in more infrastructure, more on-prem systems, or do we start looking at moving a lot of our information to the cloud? So even that, a lot of organizations are taking their first steps towards that. But again, there's also still that I wouldn't call it hesitance, but it's like a wait and see that they're trying to do as well, right? They're being very cautious in doing that. Again, it's because of all this, everything that's been happening, right, in the last year or so, especially happening across the border and things that we've been seeing. So who gets control of your information. So we're seeing a little bit more cautious, but there is a lot of planning towards that, right? So what we've seen is a lot of the planning right now is going cloud. So that's what they're doing. So they're looking at it, they're planning for that. They're trying to set themselves up for that one as well.
And again, I think that trend started long before the pandemic. Like that was something that was widely talked about and being implemented before this happened. And this is just another thing that's been set up as a result.
Yeah, it's become accelerated, and it's an important piece in terms of IT and security. And I think that's an important aspect of what you offer and mapping it in order to provide the best results. I think one area, if we can touch upon, is looking at clients that are looking from end to end and what that looks like in terms of end-to-end services, or even on prem technology offerings. If we can talk about that a little bit more, that would help in looking at how that is looked at.
Yeah, so we basically have two offerings at Ricoh, right? So we have essentially process as a service, and today we really have kind of three big ones. So we would have like a full-on digital mail end-to-end solution. We would have a payment processing solution, and we would have an accounts payable service solution as well. And all three of those are end-to-end services. So what that means is that it's basically offered as a service. It's consumed in a transactional model, meaning by invoice or by check or by piece of mail. And Ricoh basically takes on the lion's share, let's call it 80% of the IT lifting to get that solution up and running. So it provides our clients a way of getting into an automated platform with reduced work on IT, and reduced upfront costs because they're not buying any software or any technology. There's no upfront heavy investment on that. We also offer the on-prem solutions as well, and those solutions can deliver the exact same impact as our services offerings. And we have a mix of clients, and it's really right now. I think what we're starting to see is it was primarily the larger clients that were looking for the services. They were coming to us, and it was all about speed to market, speed to getting it implemented. And a lot of those larger clients were kind of focused on those services. Now what we're seeing is a shift. We're seeing a shift in a lot of the medium to larger size customers are now electing to use the service so they can get up and running quicker and reduce that upfront cost. So we're definitely seeing kind of a change in the market in terms of how our customers are looking to procure our solutions. And yeah, we have both solutions in our toolkit, and they're both very powerful solutions and can deliver almost the same results. It's really about how our clients want to procure them and want to implement them. Security as well used to be a big point of discussion, and used to be one of the reasons that our clients used to always want to get into the on-prem technology and the on-prem solutions. And I think we've come a long way there as well, and that's now something that we can deal with those security requirements in the cloud-based service offerings that we have today.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. Duke, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, yeah. So when it comes to trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, so we all know that we want improvements, we want to move forward, but a lot of times it's really, how do I get from here to there? And that's where we come in. So we can come in and help you get from point A to point B. And and walk you through that journey as well.
Getting started is usually the hardest part.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll encourage everyone that's with us today, our guests, our members, and moving forward, we welcome you, and I know you'll be back, and we really appreciated you providing the insights and the depth that you provided today with the extra research and data that you brought forward today, which was important. I'd like to thank Ricoh. I'd like to thank Ryan. I'd like to thank you, Duke, for your time and your insights. I'm sure that FEI Canada's members and guests really appreciate your knowledge and your expertise. To our guests that were attending today, you're going to be receiving a short survey after the webinar. We really value your input and your time. We do take the feedback seriously, and we also incorporate it to future events that are coming forward. Again, I'd like to remind everyone to take a moment to register for the upcoming Early Bird DNA conference that's going to live stream from Quebec. So please register at www.feicanadaconference.ca to ensure you get your early bird rate. And I'd like to thank you again for following the webinar. And thank you so much, Duke. Thank you very much. Ryan, thank you, Ricoh. Everyone, please take the opportunity to reach out and benefit from the great services and insights that are brought forward today by Duke and Ryan. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day. Be well, take care, stay safe until we can be together again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.